Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we are interviewing Sam Koerbel from the Lytei podcast. Man, that guy's got a whole manner of thing going on. He's got educational programs for lighting designers and lighting engineers and all that. Not allowed for distributors, though. And he's got a podcast, and he puts out videos and everything else. So you want to check out his show. We're going to post it all on the website, and you can see where you can find his stuff. What a great guy. Had fun chatting with him, went all over the place. But before we get to Sam Koerbel, you got to go to KeystoneTech.com. Put this thing on pause right now. It's KeystoneTech.com, Greg.
That's right. Check out their new, it's a flat panel, right? You guys have heard of what a flat panel is. Yeah. Everybody says they got one. New. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's flat panel. This is nice. You know why it's nice? Color changing. First of all, it's color selectable on there. People have that. I get that. But it's backlit. So the light distributes more evenly when it's backlit versus edge lit. And I'm going to read this straight off. There's no yellowing. Precise optical lens covering each LED chip. So no risk of yellowing. How many sites have you been in where you see flat panels change colors because of the yellowing of the lens or the LED chip? Happens all the time. There's a lot of cheap flat panels out there.
Ooh, sure is.
This is at a great price point. Great option. Keystone driver, smooth dimming. You got it, man. Keystone.
Get those marbles out of your mouth. But before we get into Sam Koerbel from Lytei talking about his stuff and just talking about the industry in general, you know, we're going to tell you a little bit about the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. We're going to be electing our new board. Man, this association, great leadership on the board. Really, really setting the tone. It's an advisory board that we have at Nailed. You don't have to do any work. You just have to really think problems through when you're lying in bed at night and trying to help us get it going. This association is on the move in the lighting industry. So go to naild.org. Yeah, the website's down. That's because we're building a better one. We're always moving. Talk to Bree at the Nailed office. But for right now, we got Sam Koerbel, Get a Grip on Lighting. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, Sam Koerbel.
How's it going?
Oh, say hi to Greg Eric.
What's going on, Greg? It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, you too. And this is it's like a real recording here. Look at you got a microphone and headset and everything. First time we've seen that.
I've got to tell you, I've dabbled a little bit in podcasting myself, so I'm happy to be on your podcast today because podcasting is fun.
You know, that's a great way to put it, man. It is fun, actually. I've had tons of fun. It's also important. I think podcasting is in the days of fake news and propaganda and all the stuff you hear in the, very politicized news. Podcasts and video shows and this sort of stuff have really been a source of balance in people's lives, whatever they believe in. And so I'm quite happy to be in that movement. And happy to be joined by somebody who is as enthusiastic about it as I am. Tell us a little bit about Lytei.
Well, Lytei is a fun little thing that I started that some may call a hobby, but I tend to call a full-time job. And as an entrepreneur, I think you guys can relate. But every great idea starts with a dream, and then it becomes a reality. And 14 months ago, I decided to make a dream a reality, and I started Lytei. And we're here to empower ideas and essentially elevate the voice of lighting. It's super important to me that as technology just continues to slam into a dinosaur of an industry, which is lighting and fluorescent lamp technology and troffers, and becomes much more technical and integrated, that we do a better job as a community of getting out there and telling people, hey, lighting might seem complicated because it is, but you don't have to just run away from it. There's some basics, there's some fundamentals, and there's a lot of fun stuff to learn that while you may not be, at the top of the totem pole in terms of the knowledge or the expert, you can start to learn a little bit too. And what I really wanted to do for the community was go out there and create a platform to do that. So Lytei is essentially here today to create short 2-minute videos or, host a podcast or create some sort of engaging content that's entertaining and also informative. We're not going to be your Bachelor of Science degree in lighting. We're not even going to be like a 6-week module in lighting, but we are going to be a 6-second or a 6-minute module in lighting where we come in and we teach you just a little bit more about hopefully something that you want to learn, whether or not it's a project, a person, a product, or maybe even just like the theory behind what backlighting is.
What's your background in lighting?
My background in lighting is a self-proclaimed lighting geek, and that started all the way back when I believe I was 10 years old. It may have been 9, but I'm sure you've heard the story once or twice before. You walked into the theater, you were going to do one thing, and you ended up at the lighting board. For me, I was on the soundboard, and crossfading audio is not as much fun as crossfading lights. Sorry to the producer, but I like lighting more. But
I was a theater kid too.
Hey, you got to dabble on everything. So, I got my start in lighting as a 10-year-old kid, just being fascinated with what it could do in terms of what it can create, and what light can create as an emotion. And I kind of let that just drive me. It drove me to college. I went to CU Boulder, got an architectural engineering degree, go Buffs, and specialized in lighting. And then from there, I went and I worked in sales for 10 years at the Acuity Brands conglomerate agency in Denver, Colorado, known as the Lighting Agency. And I had an awesome time working with probably close to 135 manufacturers over my tenure there. And obviously getting to know the Denver market super well, working a lot with lighting designers, engineers who were interested in lighting. I didn't have it in me to call on contractors or distributors, but I had a bunch of awesome coworkers that took care of that part for me. And after 10 years of selling, like I said, I kind of had this mission and this dream to go create a bigger, better place to educate people on what it is lighting is and how it affects people. In a podcast and in video are kind of the two means and methods that I've chose to do that. And you guys are doing it too, which is awesome. I wish there were more.
Yeah. So you actually have a degree in lighting? Because Mike and I kind of talk about that sometimes, and we say there really isn't such a thing. So what do you mean by specialize in lighting? You actually had classes.
There's not a degree in lighting.
There's no lighting engineers.
There is very much lighting engineers, and that's what my degree is, and that's what everybody will tell you.
There's electrical engineers, there's mechanical engineers, there's civil. Are you actually have a formal classification as a lighting engineer?
We are architectural engineering. So in the United States,
there's architectural engineers.
That's correct, and there's a very, very small subset of engineering schools that offer architectural engineering. So architectural engineering is offered by, I believe it's like 8 or 9 institutions. Very, very small. And those programs are also small within the schools of engineering that they're in. But they're all very well known. They're all very well respected. And they produce, probably some of the, may I say, well-rounded, more informed 22-year-old candidates to enter the job market when it comes to building and construction. You can go into HVAC, you can go into plumbing, you can go into structural, or you can go into electrical systems in buildings. And in architectural engineering, when you go into the electrical systems, that tends to gravitate towards 2 things, which is the gear, right? The power, making sure that everybody's safe and we got 120 volts where we need it, and then the lighting. And CU Boulder focuses specifically on lighting when you get that electrical emphasis in architectural engineering. So we call ourselves illuminating engineers. It's also a term that's used broadly across the industry for people who go on to be the engineers who are developing optics or understanding heat and thermal management specifically for lights. But the degree is a BS in architectural engineering.
Okay. And
right. So there's no lighting engineers.
Hey,
right.
There is no.
Make a short story long, right? I don't mean to be a dick, but that's why people listen to my podcast, because there's no lighting engineers. Everyone's like, I'm an architectural.
There's a lot of lighting engineers, and they're all coming for you. I promise.
Oh, come on, man, bring them on.
I'm gonna send you a T-shirt that says there are lighting engineers.
Do it,
and you can do it.
See, I told you I was gonna like this guy. Come on, Sammy, we can do this.
You want a hat too?
Oh man,
how about a tattoo for your ass?
Oh wait, I don't have any tattoos.
No.
I don't do any tattoos. Okay. No, I don't do tattoos.
Well, they're removable. It's just pull and peel.
You know why? Because the problem with tattoos is. Do you mind if I just open up on that? Because I actually like so many people have tattoos, and it's like you kind of have to like say, it's like I got this tattoo, and you know what it means? What does it mean? It means like the star in the sky is like a symbol of my youth, and then the sunset, and people have this big story about a tattoo. But I think tattoos are like that have meaning in quotations for those that are listening. Oh, I'm going to piss people off with this one. But I think they're intellectually stultifying. So
that's
like
a big word. Can you define that word?
Yeah,
I
please.
can. But it means it makes you stagnate intellectually. So for example, if my 12-year-old daughter was going to get a tattoo, she'd probably get a Naruto tattoo. You know who that is? No. That's like that Japanese anime guy. Because she loves watching this Japanese anime thing. She's so into it. She thinks it has such great meaning and stories, right? And a couple of years before that, she probably would have got a Harry Potter tattoo. And before that, it would have been Johnny Hobbit or whoever else is out there, right?
Yeah,
and people go through their lives and they like tattoo things on themselves that they want to be like, this moment in my life was super meaningful. And I get the reason why they do it. But to me, it's like, what if you don't believe that anymore? What if you figure out that the Chinese writing you got on your arm actually says you're a stupid white man? Like, how, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people get tattoos and they're like, yeah, in Chinese, it means this. Can you read Chinese? You sure that's what it says? Right? And there's like so many things about tattoos that just kind of make me go, you know what? You think that means a lot to you right now. You really do. But then, you can't be fluid with it. You can't graduate from it. You can't let it float away into the past, and it has to keep meaning something to you, which is why people that get tattoos tend to get more and more and more and more of them.
I mean, tattoos tell a story. Sometimes the story is more exciting.
Maybe. Like I was in Ireland and I was really drunk and all my buddies were getting shamrocks tattooed on their ass. So I did too.
That's
right?
a story.
That's a story.
That's a story. Yeah.
But so I mean, I'm not criticizing it. I just think it's intellectually stultifying. And if anybody wants to tell me otherwise, they can come on. So anyway, do you have a light bulb tattooed on your butt?
I do not. I am tattoo free.
Okay. That makes three of us actually.
Yeah. The only tattoo that anybody's ever asked me to get is I was actually the college mascot, Chip the Buffalo at CU Boulder. We've got a live buffalo, Ralphie, a costume mascot, Chip. And there's a little bit of a cult, I guess you could say. Everybody gets pretty excited about it. And a couple of years after I graduated, everybody started getting that tattoo. And they said, hey, you want to come join the club? I said, no, I didn't start that stupid tradition, and I'm not going to follow it either.
Ooh, tight. Okay. Let me ask you about this. Did people know you were Chip when you were at the university or the school?
No, absolutely not.
So you're like, whoever Chip is like a secret.
Yeah, Chip is definitely a secret. I mean,
that's the best.
My roommates knew because, there was a buffalo costume in the dryer every 3 days. But other than that, no one really knew.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
And then we really wanted to just like walk around with only the Chip head during graduation. That's definitely not allowed. So, yeah.
Do you get to pick the next Chip? Like, is it a 1 year? You said you want 2 years. Does the current Chip who's graduating get to like interview and pick the next Chip?
Tryouts, yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm part of the committee for tryouts, but no way, man. I'm not picking it. We get like there's like over 160 kids that try out for it every year at this point. So it's competitive. It's very competitive, and it's also out of the love of your heart because you don't get a scholarship for it either.
Mm-hmm.
It's for fun. Kind of like what you get free tickets to every.
Yeah, lighting is fun. Lighting, yeah, someday I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called What I Learned in Life from Being a Mascot. And I'm just going to translate all those experiences into what happened in my real life. So I haven't sat down to think about what being an entrepreneur and being a mascot have in common yet, aside from you pretty much have to be fearless. So we'll
I was going to say willingness to do stupid shit. Like run around with a buffalo costume on. It's just hilarious.
Hey,
but it's awesome, dude. I got a job for you. You can stand outside Atlas Lighting dressed as a light bulb. Okay, come on in. We'll put a big mask on.
I'll just clarify. We don't we the Mascot people, we don't call them mascots.
No.
We call them paid interns. Mascots have personalities and characters, and they really do develop, and they go out and they become an icon for something that is their own identity. Painting a logo or just putting that on top of a human to make it move back and forth, well, we don't call that mascotting.
Okay.
But I could talk about mascotting all day, so I don't know if you want to talk about mascotting, but
not yet.
hit me with what else you got.
Mike might do a live show with you on that someday. But you said 14 months ago you started this Lytei. What was there one defining moment where you said I got to do it, or was it just over time and you finally just gradually went into it? How did you get it going?
Definitely no defining moment besides the day that I left my last job because I wasn't getting paid anymore. But I did not wake up one day and decide to quit and do this. It was definitely, I would say, a culmination of a lot of the passions that I hold in lighting and photography and educating, looking at the market and trying to understand how I may be able to take all of that and put it together and package it in a way that may benefit people, right? Create value in a way that's not happening today. And between researching and honestly talking to people, sitting in traffic for twice as long as I used to, one thing kind of led to another, and it was a mountain bike ride with my buddy one day, and I told him all about it as we were climbing up to the top. And he turned around and he looked at me, he goes, "So you're going to be a YouTuber about lighting, huh?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That sounds awesome. You should go do it." So if there's one moment, it was my buddy listening to me. When you're climbing up a mountain on a mountain bike, you're going like half a mile an hour. You're pretty close to each other. You're pretty much out of breath, but you're hanging out and chatting. So I got an hour to pitch to him where he couldn't turn around and tell me to stop talking.
Nice.
And
so how often are you?
I mean, it was great. I needed to get off my chest. I wanted to tell someone, and he was fired up for me. And needless to say, I've got a family. I've got my wife. I've got a lot of people who I told about this kind of leading up to it, and they were like, "That's cool. That could really turn into something fascinating." And I would say that sentiment reigns true 14 months into this from just about anyone I talk to in the industry. Everybody is curious as to what Lytei is and what it will become. And I'd be the first to say that I'm right there with them, right? When you start a new company and you start a new business, you certainly cannot just draw your line in the sand. You have to continue to adapt. You have to be able to evolve. You have to fail fast. You have to move on, and you have to keep at it.
I'm not letting you off the hook that easy. What's your vision?
All right.
What's your vision?
What's my vision?
Where are you going with this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, like I said, my vision is to raise awareness and elevate the voice of lighting. And I truly believe that the more people that know lighting exists and lighting can do something besides turn on and off, we as an industry will have more opportunity to make a bigger impact on society.
What can lighting do? What matters? What do people don't know? What is it that people don't know about lighting that they should know, from your opinion?
That is a loaded question, and I will happily answer that. Yeah. The first thing that people don't know about lighting is there's a whole business and profession built around it. Okay. Everybody in it knows it, but most people don't. Yeah. Okay. So if this industry is going to survive, we're going to have to do a better job telling people they can come work in it.
That's a great point.
Value they can get out of it.
That's a really good point, actually. Yep.
So, we could talk about that. I think that's one of the biggest arguments. And the second biggest thing people don't know about lighting is it really does affect how we interact with each other, how we interact with a space. And as someone on the podcast I interviewed, his name is Gary Trott. He's with Acuity Brands now. Gary said, everybody knows what bad lighting is. Nobody knows what good lighting is. And I think that's really true. How many people are just getting bombarded with light, and we would call that glare, right? And that's a problem. But why is glare a problem? And how do you avoid putting glare in a space? Or how many people can't read the text on an infographic because there's no good contrast, right? Well, we call that contrast. They call that I can't see. People don't know that light is the reason for so many things that they experience on a daily basis. Why, when you walk into a well-lit space, can you very clearly see, where you need to go in terms of wayfinding? It's obvious. Well, the hostess stand is lit and the sign of the bathroom is lit and the dining room is kind of dimly lit behind a wall that's not really lit. Can you use light to guide people? People don't know that, but it's lit up, so they just look at it and they walk to it. So, now when you talk about why that happened and what was used to do that and how many other conversations went into that specific thing, it's very interesting to me because people tend to maybe get that as their introduction into what, quote, lighting design is or what lighting is, as opposed to just understanding lighting has a fundamental way to impact us and also it can pay you a living to be in the industry. So you asked me, what's my vision? My vision is to create content that is easily digestible by both lighting enthusiasts and those who know nothing about lighting. And for the lighting enthusiast, I want to create content that helps them reiterate and regurgitate maybe the quote unquote basics of lighting to put time back in their pockets to do what it is they're doing best, which is design, which is coordinating, and I'll handle the education for them. In terms of going out and talking to people who know nothing about lighting, but maybe are in the design field, creating short, like I said, 3, 4, 5, 6 minute videos that say, here's what backlighting is. Here's what layers of lighting are. You call those, recessed cans. The lighting industry calls them downlights. And the reason we call them downlights is because it puts light down into the space and you can use a hyperbolic or a parabolic reflector. And here's what the cave effect actually is. It's not the cave effect. It's the lack of light on the walls and it's contrast at a level that your eye sees and finds, either emotionally interesting or it creates a sense of like, an unsafe space. And then the last part is how can we go out and how can we define it and tell people, hey, here's lighting. Here's an industry that's literally billions and billions and billions of dollars of money are flowing through it every day. And there's all kinds of people in it, whether or not you're a creative, whether or not you're a technical person, whether or not you're a sales professional, there's probably an opportunity here for you in it. So going out and documenting those groups of people and then putting together, short feature videos or podcasts that may be able to be shared in places that make sense, but they don't have anything. And I'll give you a great example. I'm doing a piece on 20 lighting designers in 2020, who they are, what they think, and how they work. And it's 20 of them talking about who they are, what they think, and how they work. In 3 to 4 minutes, that becomes a nice little video, a nice piece that we could get to every single school of architecture at a 4-year degree around the country and just get each one of those schools to play that 4-minute video at some point during the semester. That's probably close to like 40,000 students that we could tell in 4 minutes lighting design or lighting is a profession. And they might not know it otherwise. So just take 1% of 40,000. Wow, we just created a lot of new lighting designers in 4 minutes, right? How many times can we do that with something else? My goal is my goal for Lytei is to create an opportunity like that every single day, whether or not it's for the industry, whether or not it's for a manufacturer, whether or not it's for the two of you guys in your podcast and what you've done, right? To tell a story every single day, 2 minutes at a time, that adds value to our industry by capturing those people and teaching them something.
Nice. And so you kind of answered it a little bit. Are you doing a set schedule? Or are you doing a podcast every X amount of time?
I thought you said every day. You said every day?
Well, 2 minutes every day. What do you?
The goal is to get to something in 2 minutes every day. And that's a bold goal. Anybody who's in production, anybody who values quality knows that for,
every day is tough.
Every day is really tough.
Yes.
And
okay. So hang on. I want to unpack what every day means. Okay.
Sure.
So right now, do you release every day, 7 days a week?
No.
Release 5 days a week.
We're releasing 2 to 3 days a week right now.
Right. So every day is like a future goal. That's part of the vision.
Every day is absolutely
part of the vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have a producer, or are you doing all the production yourself?
I was a one-man show to start, and pretty much sit with a group of 4 part-time people who help produce stuff and put it together. But pretty much it's the best way I can put it is, if it's video production, I'm still heavily involved in everything. But the podcast side of things, I've got a whole production team that helps with that now. And as Lytei continues to grow, we will bring in not only, more people to help on the production side, but more faces to be forward-facing at Lytei as well.
Sounds good. And out of the podcasts you've done, how many have you done total? Do you know offhand?
Yes, we recorded 36 podcasts. They're not all released yet. So the podcast, just a great example of scaling up. It was like 3 to start, 1 a month / whenever you could find time to get to people and interview them. Yeah. But I've been very grateful and thankful for many, many people who have given me their time to sit down and take time out of their days to give interviews and talk about things that are important to them. So we've got a 12-week backlog right now, and every Thursday, Lytei's launching a podcast, and it's called, we branded it as the Light Pod. So just a little different, but still in the same family.
And without offending any of your guests, who's been your favorite, or what has been your favorite topic?
Discussion? Oh, absolutely. It's easy. Every single guest is truly amazing. Every person has a unique story, and they're so excited to share it. I learn something from every single person I interview. Selfishly, I'll probably just make the podcast people I want to talk to, people I want to learn from, because they'll come hang out and tell their story when they can share it with 300, 400, 500 other people, right? But my favorite podcast is probably my first mentor ever, who literally taught me what a cut sheet was. And I have to give him credit. His name's Greg Mackel. He's a residential lighting designer in Denver. And he's been super stoked for me from day one. And Greg, I told him, hey, I want to start a podcast. And he's like, cool, I'll be on it. Because I was like trying to figure out how to find somebody to be on the podcast. And he's like, well, I'll do it. And I was like, awesome. And then, I had to record it 3 times because I had no clue what I was doing. And I had to learn. And he did it, and he sat there, and he also did a podcast about talking how he took some billionaire's driveway that had a bunch of cracks in it and turned it into an RGB installation with like 50 universes of DMX. And basically it looked like lava was flowing down this guy's driveway every night. So, that's definitely an amazing podcast. Again, because there's a story behind it. But I've been fortunate to interview some of the best lighting designers in the world on my podcast. I've interviewed up and coming entrepreneurs in their own spaces. I've interviewed people who are just really good friends of mine, who are super smart people that I wish they were more well known, because they should be, because of what they're doing. There's no elite bar. There's no like qualification to be on my podcast, aside from that I want what you deliver to be thought-provoking and inspirational. And I think most people in life have an opportunity to tell a story that does that.
Have you been able to get any in person, or has it all been virtual? I know the last 6 months you haven't, but those previous 8?
Oh yeah, most of them. I'd say only 3 of them have been virtual. It's very important. It's very important for me to have them in person. I've got a table here in my podcast room. It's 8 feet long, and people wear masks, and they come in, they sit at the other end of the table. Everything's desanitized. They've got their own wipes. They do it. They get up and leave. And it works really, really well. I've also been fortunate to have people receive a bucket of podcast gear and set it up in their home and things like that as well. So yeah, most of them are in person, which I think is important. We're on video today, which is a critical part of doing this, right? Being able to see somebody on an audio recording really creates a genuine conversation, and that's very important.
There's times when I prefer video, actually. Like, I've come to my live show with the lighting. I always like to be with Greg, and there's just a vibe when we're together, sitting around a table with somebody, and it's we have our gear and the thing, and they put the headset on, they enter the universe, and it's fun. And there's a vibe to that.
There's something about putting that
you got to wear headsets.
On.
We did it without headsets once, and it didn't work. You got to put the headset. You have to hear your voice in your ears and other people's voice in your ears. There's something about that. There's a little tip for any of you people out there that want to start a podcast. But, for my life show, I find that when you're talking about extremely controversial subjects, so I'll tackle anything. Like I'm ready to talk about anything, and I'll put it on the internet. And I find that the video podcast, while the intimacy is there, you can see the facial expressions. You can see contempt, hatred, anger, annoyance, frustration. You can see it. You can see the nose, that little bit of their upper lip starts to twinkle a little bit. They can't control themselves anymore. They're so frustrated and angry. Or the joy, the happiness, the love, the pleasure. All those things are visible, although you don't have the vibe, you don't have the energy. But I find that people are more comfortable. I think there's a greater level of vulnerability available to you. Well, I think it's probably more in person, but people are less likely to open up. Does that make sense? When they're in my environment, in my studio, and they got the sound thing, and Scott's sitting there by the window, and people are selling light bulbs out there, and they're in some weird light bulb shop in Toronto, and there's like this studio there. I find that when they're in their own space, they're more comfortable with their own vulnerability in the conversation. And
it's an interesting observation.
Yeah, if the more intense the conversation is going to be, the more I prefer it to be a video podcast.
Yep. I just think we're human beings, and I love technology. I think it offers us so many opportunities. It expands capabilities, and it really does make the world go around. I get choked up on that too.
That's a cough button right there, bud.
Yeah. I see you drinking your water over there, choking.
Yeah,
it gets me every time. But like I said, we're humans, and humans, we're built to interact with people. And conversations are always more genuine when all of our senses are stimulated. And when you can see someone and you can talk to them and hear them all at the same time, that's important.
Smell them.
Smell is good. I mean,
for sure.
It may not be pleasant, but it is good.
So for your videos, Sam, how many 2-minute, 6-minute videos? How many of these videos have you done?
It's a really good question. How many have I done, or how many have I published?
Oh, good question. I'd say published. Let's say the ones that we can actually find.
So I looked at the stat the other day. I think I've got over 2,000 minutes of video.
Oh, minutes.
Wow.
Is that right? That would be 1,000.
Divide that out.
No.
1,000 videos.
It's probably closer. It's probably closer to 1,000 minutes of content that I've done at this point. And some of them, I say 2 minutes because that's the goal. Some of them are longer. Some of them are shorter. It kind of all depends what we're trying to do. But what's interesting about that is for every minute of published content, there's about 10 hours of work behind it.
Minute?
So, yeah. Every minute of published content requires about 10 hours of work. And again, this is an average of everything. But a lot goes into creating a good piece of digital content, a good piece, a good video. I never, ever was in film up until about 2 years ago when I dabbled in it on my own. What goes into a Hollywood movie is truly incredible. You hear about these movies making $1 billion and how the budget for the film was $350 million. I get it now. The guys and gals who win Oscars for directing and acting, holy smokes, are they freaking talented. Video is not easy. Video is definitely something that you have to dive into head first, and you never stop. There's always a way to make it better. There's always a way to perfect things, right? You can get the nicer cameras. You can start sliding the cameras on sliders. You can get 5 lights instead of 2 lights. You can, have 6 macro shots instead of 1. You can have 3 cuts of B-roll every 3 seconds versus 1. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. But going back to that senses comment and stimulating your senses, video is super powerful. Think about the saying, every picture is worth 1,000 words. And in video, you edit at 24 frames per second. So 1 frame one image is 1,000 words times 24 frames a second. That's 24,000 words a second coming at you visually. That's why you only need 1 minute in video. That's why you only need 2 minutes in video. You can communicate so much visually. Then you add in an audio track behind that. It becomes a super powerful way. But getting that right is tough. And I don't have the answer to, what's right, because I'll tell you right now, what's right changes pretty much on a weekly basis.
And you do advertisements for companies and you do educational, or how does that work? I've seen a little bit, but not.
Yeah, we do 3 different things. So we don't really do advertisements for companies. We do paid partnerships with companies where we collaborate to tell their story. Okay. Lytei will not just say whatever a company wants us to say. We owe it to the community, we owe it to the viewers to be honest and truthful, to not embellish and to not sell. We owe it to them to tell the story. So we're very much upfront with all our clients when they're paying us to create content. We're going to tell their story. We're going to make them look as good as they are, and we're not going to make them look any better or any worse. Because when you tell people the truth, that's what matters. That's what cuts through to people at the end of the day. Then we also do some education in terms of kind of short digital shorts, like on an update for the well building standard, what backlighting is, what layers of light are, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last piece is just kind of more of a tribute, is what I like to call it. But going around and interviewing living legends who are sort of towards the end of their career in lighting, and putting together many documentaries on these people. And I think what's cool is the education piece and that documentary piece. We don't charge anybody for that. We're doing that to give back to the community.
Oh, stop. We want to charge for education. What are you talking? What are you doing? Stop.
Yeah, well,
if you don't charge for nothing, if you don't charge for something, it has no value by definition, man.
Yeah, 100%. But like I said, there's a barrier to entry, and if people don't even want to get into lighting, we can't be charging them for it. So we've got to hook them at some point. There's no reason to say we couldn't create some more sophisticated educational resources that we could charge them for. But yeah, at an introductory level, let's raise awareness. Let's get the voice of lighting elevated.
I think your point that there's so many great careers in lighting that people don't know about. Like most people back into lighting by accident. Oh, I was working here, and like everybody's story in lighting is kind of the same like that. I accidentally tripped over a light bulb.
Yeah, I'd say like 98% of the people in this industry have no clue it's coming for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And once they're in, they never leave, because it's a powerful industry. It's a niche industry that has billions of dollars in it. And if you can get good at a niche, in a niche, why would you ever leave?
Sam Koerbel.
What's going on?
Thanks for being a guest on the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, man.
You guys, this is awesome. You both rock. Hang in there, okay?
You do. Buddy. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. See ya.
See ya.
Keystone Technologies. That's right. Come on, man. Reinventing the 2x2, the 2x4 pan. Come on, man. Nobody does that. Keystone's come back hot again. Always innovating.
They are.
KEYSTONETECH.com. Man, they have to be the most innovative in the lighting industry.
They keep coming out with it, man. Backlit flat panels. They are even light distribution, low optical flicker, which we need. Color selectable. I had a customer the other day that's been buying a little stack of 4K flat panels from me every month. And they're like, do you have 5K? I'm like, yeah, we have got 5K. Well, we put these in, and sometimes the customer wants 4, sometimes they want 5. Keystone, what do you got? They got the right answer right there, man. A backlit flat panel that's color changing. You select it right on the fixture, and they reduce their SKUs. They don't have to order a 5K and a 4K. They order one fixture, and they get what they want out of it. That's what Keystone brings to you. Give you what you want.
They're super innovative, dude. They're the retrofit kings. If you want to change your lighting, Keystone's the leader. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com, baby. Check them out. Hey, I heard Josh Brown's running for the nailed board. He's coming back on. Joshy!
See what he can do.
Woo!
Good luck.
Love it, man. And of course, we're talking about the board. We're talking about Nailed, man. This is the fastest moving association in the industry. I'm so honored to be a part of the leadership in that on the board, the leadership within Nailed, the lighting knowledge, Greg. I just can't find it anywhere. But I mean, I'm biased because I'm a distributor as well, right? So obviously there are people that do other things in lighting. But man, if you're a distributor, you got to get in Nailed.
Join up.
Ooh.
Sign up.
And of course, Sam Koerbel, Lytei. He's rocking and rolling, man. He's trying to bring people to the streets. He's trying to bring lighting to the people out there to get the people into lighting. What a great point he made about how there's so many careers in lighting that nobody knows anything about.
That's the first, when I first heard about it, I laughed at it. Like, people sell light bulbs?
Yeah. What are you talking about? It's $1 billion industry. What do you mean? Yeah, just the distribution side, it's like 20 billion. What do you mean? What the hell?
Yep.
You don't realize it, dude. That's just the lighting distribution, And so I think he's so right about that. There's so many great careers in lighting, and he's talking about what an exciting industry it is, and he's right. Check out Lytei. You know what? All of his stuff is available on our website. So you just click on it and you'll find them all there. Thank you, Sam Koerbel, for coming on, man. We had a blast. Good times. I think you're going to be a regular on the Get a Grip on Lighting. We're going to get our hooks into you, boy. That's right. But for the rest of you listening, all of our colleagues out there that are listening, we don't have fans. We only have colleagues. We don't have listeners. We just have colleagues that are checking in with us. We appreciate it from our hearts. Thank you so much.
Written on the rectory wall, there's a sign there for all. You are lost, the Lord is there to find you.